But you also want to be ambitious. It's not just about more of the status quo. There must be something that you're looking to up-level during this year. Welcome to the Independent School Podcast. Thinking and acting strategically is the key to both securing the future of your school and helping to build a more equal and just world. My name's Juliette Corbett. I'm a consultant, speaker and facilitator specialising in helping independent schools. In this podcast, I translate tried and tested strategy and fundraising techniques into a language that works for schools. So if you're a senior leader in a private school and you want your daily work to feel less exhausting and more strategic, and if you want once more to feel the joy of making the world a better place through education, then you're in the right place. Welcome, and let's get started on this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode where we're thinking about your professional strategy in 2023. So I talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago, how I start and end the calendar year in two steps. First of all, at the end of the previous year, I review how that year has gone. And at the start of the new year, I set goals for myself for the following year. And I also talked a couple of weeks ago about how I find it really helpful to have a professional strategy. And this is something that can be confidential to you. It may or may not align with the strategy that you're setting within your work environment in terms of your departmental strategy that's likely to run on an academic year. But I like to have on a calendar year a professional strategy for what it is I'm trying to achieve this year. So a couple of weeks ago, in part one of this two-part series, I helped you to review your professional strategy for 2022. And this week, I'm going to be guiding you through setting your professional strategy for 2023. So many people have told me that this podcast helps them, which is great because helping people is why I create these weekly episodes. And I also hear from lots of people who need a bit more support. For those schools, I facilitate strategy away days for governors and leadership teams. I guide heads and chairs of governors through the creation and implementation of new strategic plans. And I lead regular one-to-one strategy advice calls with heads and directors of development. And the best part of my job is hearing from the people I work with that they're clearer about what to prioritise day to day. They're better able to lead change in their schools, and they feel happier and more confident that they're making good strategic decisions. Anytime that you feel like you need a bit of extra help, just drop me a message so we can chat. You'll find my contact details at www.consultjuliette.co.uk. Okay, so you'll be listening, some of you at least, in January 2023 to this episode. I'll give you a quick review, first of all, to the way that I invited you to review your 2022. And there are 5 questions that I invited you to think about. 1, what were your professional goals for 2022? 2, what went well in 2022 and why? Question 3, what could have gone better? Question 4 was what's holding you back? And question 5, what's driving you forward in terms of connecting to something that you value? Now, once you've done that step of reflecting on how things went last year, it's now time to be setting your professional strategy and your goals for 2023, the year that we are about to embark on. So there are 5 steps to this as well. And the first step is to think about what you want your goal to be for 2023, your professional goal to be for 2023. It needs to be achievable. I don't want you to set, your ambition quite to the stars because you want to be able to feel really good about achieving it by the end of the year. But you also want to be ambitious. It's not just about more of the status quo. There must be something that you're looking to up-level during this year. So, for example, you might be thinking about setting a goal around developing a new skill, something that's useful in your professional life. You might want to set a goal which is around rebalancing your work-life balance. You might want to be thinking about whether it's time to be applying for a new job or applying for a promotion within your school. Have a think about what would success look like by December 2023 and actually write it down. Set a goal for yourself for this year. That's task number 1. Task number 2 is to think about what might stop you. Now, you'll have heard me say just now, in your end of year reflections from last year, we were looking at what was holding you back last year. It's likely that those things might hold you back this year as well, but there might be other things that might stop you. So it could be something different to do with your confidence level around that new skill that you're looking to develop. Or it might be something around childcare issues, around the new work-life balance that you're hoping to commit to. But question 2 that you've got to think about is what might stop you? And the reason that's important is because when we move on to question 3, we need to think in advance. If we're going to be strategic about this, we need to think in advance about how you're going to overcome those challenges that might get in your way, those things that might stop you. So step 3 is to think really proactively about how you're going to overcome those challenges. So for example, if you were feeling a little bit underconfident about a new skill that you're looking to develop this year, one of the things you could do is to keep a journal as you go along of the things that are going well as you develop that new skill, so that you're building your confidence as you go. An alternative or complementary way to overcome that challenge of a lack of confidence might be to spend some time now jotting down a list of all the things that you have learnt in the last couple of years, to give yourself confidence that you can learn a new skill this year as well. Or it might be doing it alongside a friend, building in some accountability and some cheerleading as you go. But it's really important, once you've set that goal for the year, you've thought about what might stop you, that you proactively think about how you're going to overcome those challenges. Now, step number 4 is to think about what are your first few steps. Now, the goal that you've set and the way that you want to feel in December 2023 might feel a little bit daunting right now. It might feel like this is something that's so out of reach that I can't possibly achieve it in this year. And if that's the case, it's even more important that you set out the first few steps. Every goal is achieved by taking small steps towards that goal. It's not all achieved in one go. So think about what are the things that you can do in the next week, in the next month, that are going to start moving you towards that goal. And we know in January that we can hopes can run high about what's possible. It's a great time to set some new habits and get some of those first steps rolling this month. Don't leave it till later in the year to get started. And then the 5th stage that I invite you to do is to commit. Actually write down your goal, write down your first few steps, get it documented, what you want success to look like in December 2023. Tell the people that you love, that you trust about what your goal is. And this has 2 benefits. Firstly, it means that you can ask them for help and you can ask them to hold you accountable in a friendly, positive way. But it also means that by telling people out loud that you love and trust that you're going to be, you have this goal and that you're going to really deliver it, it makes it more likely that you're actually going to take those tough actions to actually get that goal done by the end of the year. Bear in mind, you want to be careful who you tell. Your professional strategy may or may not call into question your long-term commitment to your current employer, your current organisation, in which case you might need to be a little bit selective about who you tell your goal to, especially if it's job hunting. But find someone that you trust, someone that you know is going to have your back and support you, and share the journey with them to build that accountability and get them to help you. And a lot of this is about habits. If we know that each goal is achieved by multiple steps, there's often a habit that has to change. That might be making a little bit more time each week for some professional development outside of your working hours. It might be making some more time each month for some networking that you want to be doing in terms of potentially looking for a new job in the future or a new career change. If you're thinking about changing habits, there's a great book that I can recommend. It's by an author called James Clear. It's called Atomic Habits. It's a really good book to be reading in January because it's a sense of how you can make your New Year's resolutions come true. And it really gives you a lot of small tactics or hacks, if you like, as to how you can make it much more likely that you're going to actually change your habits and achieve your goals this year. So as I mentioned last time, a couple of weeks ago, this framework is based on the 4 building blocks of strategy approach that I use with organisations, with schools, I use with departments. And we go through these 4 steps of developing a vision, assessing your accelerators and sticking points, creating a general approach about how you're going to overcome those sticking points, and then creating an action plan. And you might have noticed how that maps onto this process that I've shared with you in these 2 episodes around finding your professional goal, your professional vision for 2023, assessing the accelerators that are already driving you in that direction, the things that have gone well, and the things that are holding you back, the sticking points. Having a general approach as to how you're going to overcome those sticking points, how you're going to harness those accelerators in order to deliver that goal, that vision. And then finally having an action plan. That is your first few steps to make sure that action actually gets started. So you will not be surprised to hear that I use this model myself. I do it every single year with an end of year review in December, setting my professional strategy in January, and it really works to focus your energies around this time of year on thinking about the change that you want to deliver in your professional life. I hope this has been helpful. I love to hear your questions and your thoughts. Do look in the episode notes for the link to the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. I look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye then. Thanks for listening to the Independent School Podcast, the podcast that helps senior leaders in private schools to think and act more strategically, both because they want to secure the future of their school and because they want to help build a more equal and just world. You can listen in everywhere that podcasts are available. And if you want to catch up on previous episodes or follow any of the links that I've mentioned today, just head over to www.consultjuliet.co.uk/podcast.